It's exactly 5 o'clock, so we are starting. We are about to finish in 20 minutes. I hope we have time for Q&A at the end. So today we're going to talk about various strategies, for adoption of Drupal Canvas in existing platforms. Here we talk about platforms, not websites. Small websites, you can just rebuild them in Drupal Canvas within a few days, right? It has been shown today on some sessions. So really, we talk about platforms where you have made like a big investments already. We will cover today the as-is work today, how we build websites, how we build pages, and we will be talking about the to-be model with Drupal Canvas, right? Then we go a little bit deep dive to compare different strategies in different archetypes, talking about headless, progressively decoupled Drupal, or kind of a standard Drupal, how we approach all these type of platforms. Then we talk about the risks and the challenges and the possible mitigation plans around adoption of Drupal Canvas. And finally, which is usually something you put in the beginning, but why Drupal Canvas? Because it's great technology, but what business value this is going to bring to your platform, right? This is a question that I've heard from some of you already, right? Moving forward, my name is Boyan. I'm working as a director of digital solutions at Drupal. I'm very enthusiastic about Drupal since many years. I have been talking about better editorial experience with Drupal. I have been talking about layout builders on the various conferences, and today, very logically, I will be speaking about Drupal Canvas because this is the next step in this evolution, I would say. I work in Jakarta. Jakarta is an international company. We have a very big Drupal team. Maybe one of the biggest around the world. We love Drupal. We live Drupal, and we talk about Drupal a lot. Let's start with the basics, right? As this work, you shouldn't be surprised. We have structured content types. We usually do use the field UI, the content types to build all this, right? Next one, we have flexible landing pages. No surprise, today we build these thanks to paragraphs, layout builders, or some kind of a block layout, block plugins combinations, right? And the final, but we shouldn't forget it, global regions, our lovely header and footer. Today there is pretty much one way to build it, and this is block layout and block plugin. So this is what we have today. The to-be state, structured content types will stay, right? They don't go away. Drupal is very strong for building structured content types. AI loves structured content, so structured content types will stay. We don't replace everything with flexible landing pages. So this is something that you should be clear, because I heard some questions about, okay, are we going to stay with articles and blogs? Do we build everything with Canvas? No. We use Canvas and one particular feature called content templates. Content templates allows us, to override how the structured content types look like. So you will be able, to use the Canvas UI to build the layout and how all these pages looks like, right? On the right side you will see an image. It is a screenshot from Drupal CMS 2.0, the dev version. I'm not sure, can you see very well? But you would see that we are able to override the display of each content type, and not just the full display, but any display, right? So you have quite a freedom to override each of these displays. So this is about structured content type. So this is where it becomes interesting, the flexible landing pages. This is one of the main scopes of the Drupal Canvas itself, right? Today, what is going to change is, in fact, you will be still able to use your favorite content blocks, call it layouts, call it paragraphs, call it block plugins. With one caveat, the paragraphs and layout, it is still work in progress, but it's something that on a theory, it just requires some effort, and now once, Drupal Canvas is more stable, it has an official release candidate, this work can go in action, right? But what is coming on top, in fact, on top of all well-known components. Now you have a single directory components and JavaScript components, which gives you extra, flexibility, to build your Drupal pages. Once again, on the right side, you can see everything is coming from Drupal CMS 2.0 dev version. I think it's a great place, to play with Drupal Canvas, by the way. Moving forward, global regions. I think that's something that for me it's a big deal as well, even though that it's not maybe the focal point of everyone. But now we can say bye to block layouts. We don't put all the possible blocks in a single layout and have like some performance issues and like a very big a block layout page. But we can manage the global regions with the very same way how we manage our pages. So we can use all the components that we are using today for building pages, like SDC, JavaScript components. We can use them within the header and the footer regions. So and we can still use the known block plugins, right? Block plugins, just make sure that you are aware. These are all menus block, these are all views block, this is your logo block, this is your global search block. All these are block plugins which are still available, and you can build them in the way that you want. Much more flexible way to build the different layouts, but not just to stick with what is coming out of your team, right? You are in control here. Moving forward, the core of our presentation is really what do we do with our decoupled and progressive decoupled Drupal or our standard coupled multi-sites, right? So first one with the decoupled and progressive decoupled Drupal. Here I will make like a kind of a two sections. First one is with the fully decoupled Drupal. In fact, Drupal Canvas today main target is not fully decoupled projects, right? But what is very interesting is that it puts a very interesting fundamental concept, of an example of how to build a decoupled, a fully decoupled React app, right? Which is, working in a great way, not just consuming content, but also creating content within Drupal CMS, right? And think about all other, SaaS CMS solutions out there. In fact, they have a very similar concept. They don't have an interface, but you can build apps around them, which you can use them for build page builders or to have like a different editorial experience. And now this concept is already in Drupal, which is for me it's quite innovative, and all this work is really boosting the coupled headers ecosystem big time, because all of the work that is done, many issues are fixed, around of the work that has been put around Drupal Canvas. So even though that is not something that we can use today, it's definitely something that helps the headless projects around the world. Moving on the progressively decoupled projects, where actually there is a big impact, because just make sure progressively decoupled projects, these are projects where the main page is, the routing is served by Drupal, and within the page itself we have embedded kind of JavaScript applications, right? This is usually the most common scenario. What Drupal Canvas brings is that now we have a much more modern, standardized, governed way how to orchestrate all these applications. We have a very clear track of all these embedded applications, where they are used, and in fact we can even have a more structured way of how to configure them, thanks to, imagine if each of these applications is a JavaScript component. For all of them you can have a properties, props, the so-called settings, and all of these can be configured. So they become much more scalable, but not just a piece of hard-coded JavaScript somewhere on the page. Having this, in fact, allows us mixing frameworks and brings Drupal closer to, the monorepo style architectures. Where we have a single repository, where we can orchestrate Drupal alongside many others smaller applications, right? So that's something that really makes a change. And saying this, let's see how we can adopt Drupal Canvas within our existing progressively decoupled websites. So first one, we need to start slowly, right? It's still a release candidate, it's a bleeding edge technology. So you would like to start slowly, right? Especially if you have an existing platform. If you build something new, you can build wild, there is no boundaries. The stable release is coming, but because this is an existing platform, you have to be much more careful. So the recommendation here is you figure it out, pages, you enable Drupal Canvas of your website, you figure it out, components, JavaScript components that you can, move already and use as a to use Drupal Canvas and to replace your regular pages. As a next step, you can migrate it all your kind of JavaScripts, which are just like embedded widgets. You can start replacing them with the proper JavaScript components, which has props, which have a configuration, and which are tracked by the back office of Drupal Canvas. I'm not sure. It hasn't been shown, but we have a dashboard which shows us all these components, where they're used and how many times are used. And that's something quite important. To have like a governed model about all these, JavaScript application. And as a next step, it's more iterative approach. You do this until Canvas take over all your pages where you have these embedded applications. So it's a kind of a simple, but it is just the way, right? And it will work. Moving forward with more complicated, standard Drupal, where we have paragraphs, we have layout builder, what do we do? Once again, start progressively. In the ideal scenario, please identify a pilot site, or a use case. For example, think about, I have been in a discussion with a customer and they have been thinking about, okay, I want to be able to build the campaign pages and I want to have more freedom, right, about how these pages are built because the current component set is not flexible enough, Or I have a customer asking, okay, we want to build immersive pages, pages where the current design is not modern enough, and I want to build a short time, immersive page for a product launch, and this is where this could be built with JavaScript components, without, jeopardizing the whole setup and the whole platform, right? So pick up a pilot site, pick up your use case, then start using Drupal Canvas, but with new content. Do not focus so much of trying to migrate one page to Drupal Canvas, but really focus on creating of new stuff with it. Because this is where it becomes easier to adopt something, to not just try to fit your existing world and your existing way of work to Drupal Canvas. Next step, preferably use the stable and native, I'm calling, Canvas building blocks, which are single directory component, block plugins, JavaScript components only in the cases where you have a dynamic functionalities, kind of a JavaScript widgets, once again, which do not, which are not SEO critical, because anything which is SEO critical will be a problem, because currently all the JavaScript components, they're working only client side. In the future, as already was mentioned by Lori, this is something that is going to work server side, but at this stage is working just client side, so be careful. But use these native components, right? Because they're stable, they're proof, they can work, and they're the future likely on Drupal Canvas. Something very important. This is an issue queue, meta issue queue, which is putting all together, the work which is done around the adoption of Drupal Canvas with paragraphs, layout support, and anything else that could come there. So currently some of work is already in progress. Please jump, review, give ideas, give feedback. It will be very much appreciated. It could be in issue queue, it could be within Drupal Slack, I think it's called I mean, the Slack channel changed its name. I think now it's Drupal Canvas. Yeah, just very simple Drupal Canvas. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but for all the progress, in some moment, we will have this ready, right? And then we have a question, you know, and this is like a twofold scenario. Scenario number one, you just start using your existing paragraphs, right? Or your existing layouts, which is great. Likely could work, you know, which is not bad. It will work in a very similar way how the block plugins are working today. So no big of a deal. But for me, you know, going with single directory components plus block plugins is the best way to go. Right now, it is not a question paragraphs versus CDC in Drupal Canvas, but for me, I do believe that CDC is a faster way to build components. It gives much more, you know, for example, imagine the scenario that was mentioned today, which I was thinking as well. You know, you build a component, you need to involve a backend developer to build the back office, then a front-end developer to style it, you know, then back and forth. Within single directory components in Canvas, you just have a front-end component, it builds everything, and it's automatically available. So there is a one person to blame, which is so nice. You know, it's so nice to have one person to blame. Okay, on the risk topic, because we are running out of time, the first risk is module compatibility. You know, Drupal Canvas creates brand new entity type called Canvas pages, right? So it means that some of the modules which are out there, our favorite contrib modules, they do not work with this new entity type because they work only with nodes. One such of a module is scheduler. Likely there are others. So if you want to adopt Drupal Canvas for your use case, make sure that you are not strongly dependent to these modules. Or if you are dependent, you know, reach out to the maintainer, ask about, you know, adoption, or you make the patch. You know, that's which is always the fastest way. Next one is about the field type support. You know, what means this field type support? You saw that the SDC components today, they have kind of a different, I mean, they support images, they support video, they support text, CK editor, right? But in fact, these are kind of a core modules, core fields. There are many contrib modules which are providing other type of fields, you know, which are today not supported out of the box. So usually this is not a big enough effort for many of these contrib fields. It is just a matter of the contributor to make like a support for this Drupal Canvas thing. It's a great option for contribution. For some more very complicated contrib fields, you know, could be much more complicated. But in the general way, it is a straightforward job. Next one, the multilingual support. Yeah, this is not yet fully available, right? And stable. There is a particular workaround, but if you plan any workarounds, make sure that you have shared your ideas with Lori, with the team. Maybe they will approve it. They will say, okay, wait, do something else, you know. But there is a issue queue that you can follow about all the tasks which is related here. So that's something that you should have in mind, you know, if you want to start a project. Final one, it's a change management, right? You introduce a new piece of editorial experience. Everyone will be worried about it, what it is, how it changed my daily work. So preparing the training is a key. What is good here is that because Drupal Canvas is so better than anything else, it will be easier. I mean, your editors will love it, you know, and they will love you, and everyone will be happy. And that's something that I hope it will make the whole adoption much more easier. The final one for me is why Drupal Canvas, right? Drupal Canvas should bring value to your platforms, to your customers, to you as a developers, right? The first one and the most important. A lot of work has been done to research competitors, you know, to build a great UX. You know, many FTEs has been put together to build something which is best of breed, you know, for real. Really, back in the time I'm presenting Drupal demos to many stakeholders, it has been a struggle for me to find out a good editorial experience to present, without to be worried that they will see WordPress Elementor and they will say, I want this, well, now we have better, now we have better, and I'm not scared anymore. Call me on any, client presentation, I'm ready to demonstrate Drupal Canvas. The next, which is very important, is, with this one, now your site builders, they can build a complex composable component. You might have a small base of base components or some components, but using them you can build more components, called patterns within Drupal Canvas, which can be reusable across the whole website. And this really unlock, the opportunities, to don't be always go through a dev cycle to create if this component wants like extra button. Why I have to have like one sprint iteration just to have an extra button, which is something that you can have usually quite easy. Next one, the use case that I see, and we already talked about, is progressively decoupled architectures. Really, this is the way that it will make your progressively decoupled projects much more organized and much more secure. Final, I already gave the example, but this one will boost the developer productivity. I already gave the example. Just a front-end developer can deliver a component. You don't need to have back-end developer anymore, just of delivering a static component, which is great. It has never been before like this. Now this is a game changer in the way how the components will be developed. Also, now you can build immersive content pages. I already gave the example, right? So that's something that it wasn't possible before Drupal Canvas and JavaScript components, in a governed way. Of course, you can always put some JavaScript in your CK editor, but this is not the way to do. It is not secure. Using JavaScript components, it is a secure way to do this type of activities. And finally, it's future ready, right? I already explained about all the R&D that has been done, but you also saw today the Dries keynote, many of the AI demos, all of them, not all of them, but many of them, they were around Drupal Canvas. Drupal Canvas, has a central point within the Drupal AI roadmap, and if you want to tap on the Drupal AI effort, which is great, use Drupal Canvas in your projects, and and you have like much faster access to all this innovation which is coming in Drupal. Thank you. And surprisingly, we have 3 minutes for questions. There is a microphone. Please go to the person with the old shirt. Yeah, please go.
So thank you for the presentation. I have a question about React and Vue components and Drupal single directory components. For example, if we build a simple, for example, teaser of a news item, we should have an image, button, link, and every piece is usually in React is usually a separate component. So even a link is a link component, not A and how we can build and integrate several React components into one single directory component in Drupal.
About the JavaScript component, just to put together, the CDC components, you can build them in a very same fashion. The CDC components idea is following the React idea. With CDC components, you can build a link, button, you can build all these atoms and molecules. You can expose them to the end user if you decide so they can build whatever they want. About JavaScript components, I'm not an expert in this field, but what I have seen is there is this import clauses where you can import elements from your like buttons, links, and you can reuse them within your JavaScript components.
Yeah, and it will produce a huge bundle of duplicates of the components. So if you have 5 components, we will have 5 copies of the button components and 5 copies of
you just make the import. You defined your component somewhere else. Let's say you have a design system hosted somewhere, And then you can have an import clause or include clause, which is just importing this button. You know, it imports the a library, and then you can use it with your JavaScript components. You don't need to copy paste the button implementation there. You just have the include clause. Maybe we can talk about after the presentation, and I can show you the example that I'm referring to.
Actually, it doesn't import. It bundles it when compiles from TypeScript to JavaScript. There's a problem.
Yeah, we can continue the conversation. We can continue the conversation. Yeah. Any other questions? I saw someone. Yeah, behind you.
Thank you for the great presentation. Very interesting. So I'm working as an external service provider for the European Commission, and there we also use landing pages with paragraphs and block plugins. And for us, it's very important to have multilingualism and revisioning. Until now, I didn't have much oversight on the feature itself, but as I understand, this is a specific new entity type. So I guess, is it possible to integrate it with revisioning plus heavy editorial workflows, because that's also...
Yeah, revisioning is out there right now. The workflow and the multilingual, it is on the roadmap. It was shown by Lori later today. From what I've heard, the multilingual is something targeted, Q1 next year. I mean, when exactly Q1? But all this is on the roadmap, and it's coming soon. It is very much needed. It is one of the greatest things within the Drupal CMS, and this is something that is on the roadmap for sure.
And just one more question is regarding field types. What's missing there? So if we have our own custom field types or field plugins, what's missing there to make it supported with Canvas?
So there is a new plugin type that has to be implemented in order to make this mapping between your fields and Drupal Canvas. Because Drupal Canvas is running, it is a React JavaScript, it is a React application, so there is something to be tweaked there. This is the what is missing. But you have to implement like a plugin about Drupal Canvas, which is making which is bridging the gap between the contrib field and the React frontend.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, questions. Normally, you have some development that's done in local and then goes through the deploy pipelines and goes to your Git repository and everything. And then I saw some magic that you can kind of do on production, where you even had some browser thing where you put some JavaScript. So the question is, how would this separation work if you use Canvas? Like, which part goes in the Git in your source code, and which part is just content in your database?
Definitely a question to Lori, but I can try to explain once again. I'm not expert as him, but so actually you can put something within the browser. Then there is a Canvas CLI which can export these components as a regular components, right? Actually their components, they have a YAML file. They are regular components which you can commit. In fact, in the way that I imagine in an enterprise level this to work is you can have an environment where you can build all these components, but at the end of the day, all of this will be exported, and then deployed if you want to have really full control, right? If you want to have full control, you can export it via CLI and then import it via your CI/CD model during deploy. Think about Drupal configuration. Works in the very same way. Yeah, okay, we're done. Thank you very much.